Hey y'all, it's Jay. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. My mom really needed some help moving, so while y'all watching this, I'll be driving down to LA. Today we'll be talking about strategic sharing, as you all will be on the panel talking about some very passionate, very personal things. I wanted to make sure that you were equipped with some tools that'll help you get your message across. As well as I wanted you to get to know each other a little bit more, so we can see where the flow of things are for this panel and see which questions suit who best. And thank you all for participating in the check-in chat question. For me, I feel like youth voice became very obviously important in my experience in homes that didn't really value me as a queer person. Uh, it caused a lot of conflict, a lot of harm, and had me looking at myself in ways that now know are not my fault. But I know that common sense and a little bit of focus on that individual can remedy situations. So that's why I feel like youth voice is very important to include on conversations about their life. Let's move forward. Okay, so with strategic storytelling, it's made up of many different components, but here we've summed it up to three. Thank you, Shade, for the slides. It's collective experience, personal experience, and empathetic advocates. These are three different aspects of storytelling that I hope you all utilize in answering your questions on the panel. So, for collective experience, it's shared events or instances that impact the group in varying ways. For personal experience, it's events or instances that happen directly to you. And empathetic advocates are people who are able to call on the experiences of others to uplift the message. And they understand that not every issue impacts them, but knows that change promotes the greater good. So know that you are advocating for yourself, for others who don't necessarily have the verbiage or the platform to do so, and in general, the collective experience of it all. So before we start looking at some of the questions and seeing who might be interested in answering what, I wanted to take the time out to have a group discussion on why we share our stories. So take the next 5 minutes to discuss amongst yourselves, why do you think people share their life experiences? We can take two participants or whoever wants to respond. I urge you to respond out loud just to encourage that conversation and the familiarity with your peers and your co-panelists. So pause the video and we'll be back at the next slide. I hope you paused the video. Here's the next question. What are some of the ways sharing our story can be challenging? Take a moment to think about this, and we'll take another 5 minutes to share aloud. Staff, I do encourage you to participate in this as well. I hope that pause wasn't too awkward and the transition was smooth. Moving on to this question. Sometimes in storytelling, we can find ourselves everywhere. Well, at least I know I be everywhere sometimes. I often go on tangents. You know, lose my train of thought, and sometimes I don't even know what the purpose of what I was saying is for. And so, in the spirit of balance, please take the moment to answer these two questions. What happens if we share too little? And what happens if we share too much of our story? Okay, thank you so much for participating in that. I hope that conversation really got you thinking about the different ways that you want to be intentional in sharing your story. Because strategic storytelling is telling your story in a way that is meaningful, effective, and most importantly, secure. So now we'll go into some more tips that you can take with you upon viewing some of the panel questions or potential panel questions. They're not finalized just yet. Um, and it starts with the three C's. So the first of the three C's is choose. You want to be able to choose your purpose, your experience, and your details. First, with your purpose, you want to determine what your purpose is for sharing your story and what you hope to accomplish by doing so. And with your experience, you have the power to choose what you like to share. You are the expert of your life. So please do what you may with that. And know that whatever details you want to keep private, you can do that. You don't have to share any part of your story if you don't want to, because you have the full control. So take that into consideration. Write out some of your notes upon looking at some of the panel questions, and keep this choosing in mind. The second C is connect. So you want to connect with your audience and you want to connect with your purpose. You want to connect with your audience, connecting your experiences and the goal of your answers. Something that's helpful in creating your answers is thinking about how might your audience already connect to the topic being addressed. Here at the webinar, you'll be speaking to an audience of people who have previously or prior to the panel been exposed to implicit bias trainings as well as information on race, equity, and inclusion. So those are some things that you might want to consider amplifying in your stories so that they can get a clear message of how important youth voice is on that matter. And most importantly, out of these, is connecting with your purpose. You really want to connect with how this experience is being addressed on that topic. You want to be able to uh, really read the room here. So, what does your audience expect to hear? Will they be responsive to hearing your experience in the way that you're sharing it? These are things to take into consideration so that you can maximize the um, receptiveness of your answers. Pause me if anyone has questions. And the third C is claim. You want to claim the meaning and significance, the emotion, and the process of sharing. So, claiming your experience by naming it and explaining the challenges or opportunities it has created. You don't want to leave it up to your audience to interpret your meaning for sharing, especially in this context of race and inequality. You want to claim the emotions. A lot of the topics surrounding our identities are very emotional. And if you get emotional while sharing, just name that emotion and connect to it. Connect it to the purpose of sharing and know that it's still important. And if at any point you want to stop going onward with your story, I totally respect that and we can move forward. You also want to claim the process of sharing. Explain how and why you're sharing your experiences. Why is this important? How is this relevant to the larger group? But yeah, with that, thank you all so much for sitting through that strategic sharing slideshow. I hope that the conversations got you a little bit more comfortable and ready to discuss the list of questions that I have provided. Um, there will be a link as well as a folder on Google Drive that will be shared with you, and I will be depositing all notes as well as updates on the questions. And feel free to add any questions you want on the document or any topics that you would like me to cultivate questions around. But one thing that I hope that you can do for me at this time, in the spirit of collective experience, is to go through these questions and decide if this is something that you are interested in answering. And you can do so by just jotting your name below the question or in the comment section. And I just want to be able to see which groups of people are interested in answering what questions, as well as what are some of the things that you are interested in being asked. Because with strategic storytelling, there's also strategic questioning. And I want to be able to help you maximize the value of your stories, your points, and the purpose of telling it all. Thank you all. Hope to see you on the 17th, and I'll be in touch very, very shortly. And I look forward to seeing your names on that document. So take the time now to look over those questions. But other than that, uh, yeah, that's all I got for you. I'm going to pass it back to Sade. I know they're going to close it off with some logistics, but again, be safe. Have a great, what's today, Thursday? I guess it's the weekend.